For 28 days, I averaged 45 grams of fiber a day. I was fiber maxing. Some days I hit 60, one day I hit 80, some days I hit 90. But my weight didn't move much. In fact, by week 3, I thought the whole thing had failed. My hunger didn't magically disappear, but my LDL dropped from 97 to 80 in about 2 weeks. That's the first time in my life I've seen an 8 handle on my LDL. 80s. And the first time my total cholesterol went under 150, which was really the sweet spot that I was trying to get to. Now, I'm 47. I've lost and regained 30 pounds more than once. I'm cutting again right now, but this wasn't about looking lean. This was about heart disease risk and getting it low, as low as possible, or non existent. Because after 40, the game shifts. It's not just about summer abs, which would be nice. It's about staying alive and functional long enough to see our kids grow up. What surprised me wasn't that fiber helped, it's what it didn't help. And that changed how I think about hunger, fat loss, and what actually moves the needle at this age in time. So, quick disclaimer. Obviously, I am not a doctor. I'm not wearing the lab coat. I'm a 47-year-old guy running experiments on myself and just sharing my data. Talk to your physician about diagnosing or treating any issues that you have. That's not my job. I'm just here showing you what I am doing and what I did. First, let me show you the data. Let's see some proof. Do I know what I'm talking about here? First of all, weight I control with a calorie lever, and this is what I've done. So these charts show my body weight starting in December 2024 and going all the way through mid 2025. As you can see, it goes steadily down, and I used a calorie deficit to do this. Just calorie tracking in MyFitnessPal, and that's where these charts come from, and maintaining an average weekly deficit. So, and even as you can see from my weights, the eating wasn't perfect. I had flatline times, so on and so forth. Weekly deficits, no hacks, no supplements, 202 down to 182 with a slight dip down to 178. Hoo-yah, 20 pounds ish. I restarted the same system in the fall of 2025, same calorie lever. I got from 182 to 173. And this one doesn't have all the jumps because I was measuring on a separate device because I wanted to get my fat loss readings in there too. And that one doesn't record in MyFitnessPal. I didn't link them up. So I just kind of put it in manually every now and then as I went down. So if this was real, it would be bouncing all over the place too. But you could see it went down from the 81-ish down to the 174, further over here, 173. So the other lever I play around with is fiber, and I found that fiber is the best control for cholesterol and not so much for weight loss, unfortunately. So what was really surprising to me is when I started my Fiber Max journey here in January, in just 2 weeks before I went on my Mexico trip, I got my cholesterol tested again, like before and after, and it dropped down below 150. So it was 145, which to me is great because if you've seen the population studies, the old ones from a long time ago, the populations on Earth where their average is in the 150s or well below, they don't have as much heart disease. Doesn't matter how they eat, blah, blah, blah. It's just a correlation, but like, this is where I want to correlate. This is where I want to be. Go wherever you want to go. So that's where I've gotten to, and I'm super happy with it. Same thing with LDL. I've finally gotten it down to 80. And as you can see, this has been like, a multi-loop thing for me is like, I tighten up, get on the right path, and then I start not paying attention, drifting away. And it's really easy to not pay attention with cholesterol because you got to go out and pay to get it measured, so on and so forth. But you can see I've hit it. So let's dive into how this FiberMax thing went for my 28 days and what I kind of pulled out of it. So week 1, I bit off more than I could chew. I didn't just try and raise my fiber maxing being defined as just trying to hit your minimum fiber as recommended. So it's like 34, 38 grams for male bodies and 30 grams or whatever it is. It's about 30 grams. And so I didn't just want to get that. I wanted to go well beyond it. But in addition to raising my fiber super high, I tried stacking all this other stuff in. I tried an autophagy window, like fasting combined with a low protein meal right before bed to raise my autophagy. I did a tight eating schedule, which I was used to, so that wasn't that hard. Did a lot of fiber, not used to it, so it had some issues, but it was still doable. But I also tried to do workouts at the same time, lots of calorie tracking with this, worrying about my sodium, getting it into the right place. And within 7 days, it was enough. Like I had overeaten a few times. I had dropped the autophagy target. I don't think I did any of the workouts I had planned. It was too many rules. I rebelled, And so, quick pause. If you're over 40 and you've ever tried to fix your sleep, diet, workouts, and longevity like all at the same time, you know how it ends. You've been through this too. This wasn't a fiber lesson. This was a systems lesson in this part of the journey. What actually improved, my morning hunger changed a little bit. Breakfast became more optional. I started taking inulin partway through this, which is just pure fiber that they pull from chicory and variety of sources. It's also an asparagus, which is my favorite vegetable. That helped kind of basically allow me to skip breakfast and just have black coffee until lunch. That really helped with my calorie structures as well. Structured meals for me were a big winner. That's really what I worked on in this first month, was figuring out high fiber meals that were tasty enough for me to repeat over and over and over again. Because that's really where it works for me and allows me to eventually drop worrying about my calories so much. If I have go-to meals where I know the calories, I know the protein, I know the fiber, and I know that they're going to keep me full to the next meal, that's all they have to do. I just want to keep eating those over and over again. So I have my Chipotle anchor, which is both beans, fajita veggies, corn salsa, and it doesn't list it in here, so we'll just throw this in real quick, but the sofritas, because you don't get a lot of fiber from the veggies. You get a lot of fiber from the beans, the corn salsa, because it's a whole grain, like that hasn't been ground up, and the sofritas. For some reason, the sofritas, even though it's just tofu and salsa, basically, it's got like almost the same fiber that you would, well, half the fiber you'd get from the beans. So if you add these three together and skip the fajita veggies, bye-bye, then, which you can do the fajita veggies. They're great to add in too, but they're more for flavor and taste. These are your fiber anchors at Chipotle. You go there over and over again and do that, you're doing great. I like to get the kids meal because I like the crunch and I like to make it tastier. So that's where I get my like soft taco shells. Yep, not high fiber, not super healthy, very processed. Same thing with kid chips. Oh well, they make it sustainable. They're the vehicle that I can keep eating the beans, the corn, and the sofritas over and over again, day after day. This whole thing hits somewhere between 30 and 35 grams of fiber as the kid meal, because the way you have to do it is, if you know this, with the kid meal, you can only get three things. So I get like one of the beans, the corn salsa, and the sofritas, and then I ask for a small ramekin, that little plastic cup with a lid, of the other type of beans for the side. And if they charge me, it's like $1.50, but a lot of times they don't charge. And so I just do that. And that is a little hack, for my Chipotle lunch. I love it. I do it over and over again. It's great. Fiber inside structure, fiber delivery device. What didn't change during this time period, my physical fullness increased a lot actually in the first week of doing this, because I got my fiber up real high, and that does for a lot of people. But the month before, I had done OMAD, and OMAD basically was just one meal a day, and I was just starving all the time. You can eat a lot, and I wasn't full for the rest of the day. But before the OMAD, it was a little bit of hunger pains. Inulin helped me with this, but I wasn't doing OMAD. I'd have big Chipotle meal at lunch, and then another super high fiber, usually like this Fiber One cereal plus berries plus carob plus other fruits to get the fiber up for my dinner. And that worked for me too. So even though it filled me up a lot and that mellowed out after the first week when I got used to the higher fiber, it did not stop problem behaviors. I can still eat my trigger foods like ice cream or cookies or things of that nature while I'm full. For me, it just, being full doesn't stop me from eating. And even what just happened today, which was interesting, is I usually do the kids meal, but I got the full Chipotle burrito, and I almost couldn't finish it. And I've never had that happen. I'm always so proud of myself that I can finish the full burrito with all the stuff I showed you before. And it's like 1,000 calories. But today I was like too full. Usually I can't stop. Maybe I'm getting to that point, but usually I finish whatever's on the plate and then I have a cookie, and that's what causes my drift and my weight problems, blah, blah, blah. So, fullness for me, it's not the same thing as stopping. Ice cream, still a problem. Fiber doesn't let me deal with my dopamine issues, So scale drama, water versus fat. So this happened throughout the month. If you look at my numbers, I started at 173 and ended at 173. So you might stop watching right now. Oh, well, for me, fiber was really the cholesterol thing that really worked for me. And my weight was jumping all over the place. And that was mainly because everything at Chipotle is super high sodium. Like just look up their stats. Like everything is super high. And so, you do a burrito and it's like 3,000 milligrams to 4,000 of sodium. It comes with the potassium to balance that out, the sodium potassium pump. You need them both. But, because of that, my weight would be jumping all over the place. Also, during the Mexico week, I had unlimited buffets and that kind of messed things up too. Traveling there and back, eating at the airports, a lot of things caused my weight to jump, so on and so forth. So it was an interesting month to learn about fiber, salt, and water retention. That was something I had not really seen so closely correlated in my own eating logs in my Fitness Pal to the scale. And that is something that I would recommend if you want to try some of this stuff, like start logging your food in my Fitness Pal and your weights, and then like use ChatGPT or other analysis tools to merge all the data and find these interesting patterns that you may not have seen. If I had skipped Chipotle for a couple days and went back to just eating my like no salt beans with a little bit of flavoring at home, I would see a whoosh and the weight would go down a whole bunch. So fat loss is quiet. As you saw from my charts before, water weight is all over the place. It can get pretty crazy. So, and here's where I was wrong. I assumed I'd have a lot of fiber. My GLP-1 would go up naturally, of course, because I beat it all. I'd get full and then I have an automatic deficit. No, 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 no. That's a clean model. It's logical. Engineers love it. I'm an engineer. It's incomplete. It doesn't work that way because I have a bigger problem with trigger foods personally. And so I had to change my structure on how I do things. So I separated it into two different levers. First, I have a weight loss lever, and that is me and how I use various tools to deal with calories and keeping them at the calorie average that matches the weight I want to be. Because if you want to be 155 and you're so and so height, then you do go into a lot of the calculators. It'll say you should be eating 2,100 calories a day. So if as of today you start eating in a way where your average 7-day calories daily is 2,100, you will eventually get there at some point. As long as you stay consistent with how you track. And this is what I've done in the past, and this is my weight loss lever. There's ways to do it. You can track everything and do that for short periods of time, or you can do calorie controlled meals that you love that you can repeat. Those are the two easiest ways that I find that work for me. The longevity lever is what I got out of this Fiber Max 28-day thing. If I get my fiber up, and this has become a non-negotiable for me now, I no longer treat fiber as like a weight loss hack. For me, it is a longevity hack for me. It gets my LDL low, and so I'm going to keep using it to keep it low. Beans are the easiest because they're the most fiber dense, just like calorie dense. They get a lot of fiber with not a lot of eating, not a lot of chewing, not a lot of time in the chewing up your salad, and salads don't have a ton of fiber anyways. Put them in my Fitness Pal. You'll be surprised. Most of the calories come from the salad dressing. And, if there's a lot of fiber, it's not from the lettuce, it's probably from the edamame in there or the chickpeas or what have you not. So I also use psyllium as a backup. Sometimes if I want to skip a meal, and I'm not recommending anybody do anything that I do. Remember, I'm not a doctor, but this is what I do. And I've done this. It's not perfect, but sometimes if I want to balance my calories, I will make 1 tablespoon of psyllium in like 500 milliliters of water, which I think is something like 20 to 22 ounces, like a big tall glass of water. Stir all that up, let it thicken for a little bit. Usually I add a splash of pure cranberry juice to give it some flavor, and then I drink that quote unquote as my dinner. Am I hungry? Yes. Am I as hungry as if I skipped it? No. It's not perfect. It will not make the hunger go away, but it'll get you to your next meal. And that's what it's always about for me. You just want to get to that next meal. So, and also if you look at the studies, psyllium is one of many things like apples, oats, beans. These are things that they have done studies on, and they have shown that they give you, each one individually gives you very modest LDL drops of like 5 to 10%. You can look up the studies. I might do different videos on those in the future, but I, as a fiber strategy, don't just try and hit 30 to 50. That's good. But I also try and hit the heavy hitters that do multiple things, like help me a little bit with hunger, get me to the next meal, but also drop my LDL. That's me. It's not about looking great. It's about arterial health, and at 47, that matters a little bit more. I want it both. I want it all. But making sure I live long enough to see my daughter grow up and then, potentially walk her down the aisle. That's kind of one of my dreams. And that will be in my late 60s or probably maybe 70s. So, I got to work at this. I've got an important thing to do. So let's talk a quick bit about the two types of eaters. I like to compare myself to my partner a little bit when I do this. Type one, they're folks basically that they can stop eating when they're full. I'm not one of those. So that's a type one person. That's like my partner. She might eat some snackies or something because of work stress. She doesn't always follow meal times. I don't think she ever does, but she almost never finishes her food. If you go out to eat with her, and our friends have noticed this, like she always takes something home. If she opens one of those small bags of chips, she never finishes it, especially at the office. If she's working, she closes it up and she eats it over days. And most of us cannot do that. Most of us, when we start a tasty thing, we're going to keep going till the plate is empty. She tried that inulin too. It didn't work so much to help her with the food thing. She already had this stuff in place. The fiber wasn't needed for her. And inulin as a strategy, it's pure fiber. It's very fermentable, so it can really get you going down there. So she found it was good for her digestion, but we were only having like 2.6 grams a day. So that's not going to do anything. Um, you know, no major changes with the fiber, and folks like this don't really need it that much anyways, because they can stop no matter what they're eating. But people like me, type 2s, we can finish and do finish everything that's on our plate. We'll go beyond it when it's full if the food is one of our trigger foods, like whatever that is. If we've done and we've had our meal and then we want to have ice cream, we're going to eat all the ice cream. And sometimes even if it's mediocre. I was at a Great Harvest recently, and they had this great deal on their like pour your own yogurt and put all the chocolate candies in it. That was great. Then they had a cookie. The cookie sucked. I ate the whole cookie. The cookie was so bad. It was so plain. It was like it's hard to describe. It was basically just the elements of a cookie put together and merged into cookie shape, but it does not taste that great. It was what it was. I ate it all anyways. Doesn't care. I'm a type 2 person. So in a world of engineer food, if I use fiber for small GLP-1 bumps naturally, or if I increase my protein, these things, they're not going to give me enough fullness. There's no amount of fullness. Like I'm full right now in Chipotle, and if I had an option to go to Andy's and get a custard, I would do it. So, for me, I need the structure in order to avoid these things. That's how I deal with my modern food environment. So that's what moves my weight. It's not fiber or other weird biohacks like inulin. It's fewer meals, repeating core meals that have set fiber and set calories, and I set those calorie boundaries. I weigh in every day and I measure it and I look at my trends. If it's going up, I take actions. If it doesn't, I just keep repeating, look at my weekly averages, make a little adjustment, skipping a meal, using psyllium, you know, sometimes 2 high fiber meals a day. Sometimes I just do one because I'm trying to hit that minimum 30 to 50. And my meals are engineered to be super high in fiber. And I like that because if I just get one in and that's all I can do, and then the next meal is a junk meal, the average calories comes out okay. And my fiber is high, and that is it. And psyllium plus water instead of dinner sometimes. And that's how I do things. So if you remember only one thing, fiber is not a fat loss strategy. It's a cardiovascular strategy. There are 2 different games for me that works for me. I'm not saying it works for everybody. I was mixing them in the beginning of this 28-day thing, and then I stopped. I couldn't do it. It wasn't working for me. So what is fiber for me now? It's non-negotiable, 30 to 50 grams a day for heart health. That's what it is for me. I have the lab numbers for me. That doesn't mean that the lab numbers are going to translate into no heart disease. No one can predict that. It's very hard to measure all the plaques in your body. You can see some in your neck, blah, 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 sometimes. But it's a roll of the dice. We're all rolling the dice. No one knows our futures. No one knows anything perfectly. This is the dice that I'm rolling. And if you want to play the D&D game with me, this is how I'm going to go up against the boss. Do it your own way, however you want to do. So I don't use it for weight loss. I use it for my arteries. 30 to 50 grams a day, like I said, doing it for decades. The easiest way that I hit it is with my Chipotle meal for lunch usually, and then my high fiber cereal meal. One of these 2 a day is usually what I do. And carob I should do a whole video on carob and how it basically adds this delicious caramel chocolate flavor, not just pure chocolate flavor. And all it is literally a dried bean that's ground up, and it's just a powder, and you just mix it into things like your smoothies, or and I mix it into my cereal, and it adds that. Not everybody likes caramel. I love caramel, so it works really for me, and it's super high in fiber. It's like crazy high. It is a fiber hack. So takeaway lessons. I've already stated everything enough, so let's just skip all those. In closing, at 47, I'm not chasing these hacks anymore. I'm trying to build systems that can run for decades. Fiber turned out not to be the fat loss solution I had hoped. It's now my artery insurance, my fiber lever. Calorie control is still my weight lever, and finding ways to make that easier and easier is the point of this channel and the point of the experiments I do here on out. High fiber core meals are one of those ways that I do it. It just makes it easier to operate the weight lever. If you want to see some of my high fiber meals, you can download them free at this link, which will be in the description. Or if you're on your TV, you can scan this QR code to go and get to them. It is free. You don't have to pay for anything to get it. Or you can also get everything at my website, levelingupafter40.com. 40 is spelled out. It's not the number. And that's all I've got for you today. I will see you in the next one. And let's scroll up to the QR code in case you need it. And I thank you very much for your time. Goodbye.